Hello, one and all, and welcome to Season 5 of League of Europe. Yes, we are back. We're here for Division 2, the Professional Division 2, for the first of two pre-season races. I am privileged to be commentating over this division for the third season in a row. And yes, of course, you know me very well. I am Daniel Hallgaard, aka Daka230, and unfortunately, after a bit of a reshuffle, my old reliable commentator, QVR Verstappen, was unfortunately not renewed for this season. But it means I have someone new alongside me, someone I'm very familiar with, someone that I think you guys are going to enjoy covering this division. It is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmentalist. Aidan, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Daka. How are you doing this evening?
Yes, I'm doing very well. I'm very excited, anticipating what will hopefully be a great spectacle here tonight. Of course, you guys will have seen Division 1, Division 3 and Division 4 earlier on this evening, and now you're going to get treated to Division 2 and Division 5. And the first time, really, we're going to be able to see this collection of drivers sharing the track together. 19 it is in the lobby right now, and my oh my, have we got a mix here. I'm sure we'll do a more accurate rundown of all the drivers later on, but we've got a mix of D2 drivers from last season, D1 drivers that have been relegated from D1, drivers that have been promoted from Division 3, and completely new faces to the league, and a few returning older drivers as well. So we've got a huge mix up here, and this should provide a great and very unpredictable season that I can't wait to get underway, Aidan.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this either. When the driver lineup came out in that announcement video a couple of weeks back, I was like, oh god, I'm going to lose my voice watching this. It's absolutely crazy, this grid order that we've seen. Obviously, I've come from Division 3 last season commentating, moving up to Division 2, and I've moved up with some of the drivers in that sense as well. And the drivers that I've seen move up from Division 3, perfect picks to be in Division 2, I can say. So I think they're going to perform really well, along with some of the people that have moved down from Div 1 as well. So I can't wait to see how this is going to pan out, and I think we had a chat about it a couple of weeks ago as well, about possible contenders for the championship. I haven't got the foggiest idea who's going to come away with this one.
Because, yeah, there are so many different contenders, and I think we're not going to be able to make any real predictions until we get this first race underway, and we can, even then, it's not conclusive, but we can at least get an idea of where everyone's at and how they all react to each other out on track. Of course, the first race we're going to see from this season, or well, early part of the season, is going to be from the Hungaroring just outside Budapest in Hungary. Very technical circuit, must be said. It's likened to Monaco, and in fact, nicknamed Monaco without the barriers. So that's the kind of challenge that these drivers are going to have to put up with here. 14 corners around the lap, and yeah, very very tricky down there. So very, very technical stuff, and I'm expecting the drivers to struggle out there. We'll see how it goes then, but I can expect quite an unpredictable showing here. And with a track that's difficult to overtake as well, qualifying going to be very, very crucial here.
It really is, yeah. I actually just come from, obviously, the Division 3 race myself, and having seen that race, qualifying is vital around this track. The amount of trains you see form around here, because the straights are just too short to make any sort of overtake stick, it's really, really common, and I'm expecting to see that as well. One thing to note as well with this track, because there are so many quick corners in succession, it really kills the front tyres, especially that front left around this track. It's so easy to overheat that tyre, whatever tyre compound you're on. I mean, I was in that Division 3 race expecting the hard tyres to be great, and I somehow overheated the hard compound tyres. So who knows how this is going to pay off, how setups are for each driver, whether they've gone aggressive or whether they've gone safe with how they're going to perform on their tyres. So qualifying is going to be crucial as well as tyre management.
Yeah, no doubt. And as you alluded to with tyre overheating, the soft tyres may only last a few laps before they start massively going off the cliff. So alternate strategies can be quite handy around here, starting outside the top 10 and being able to start, I guess, on the medium or hard tyre, because the soft tyre really doesn't work in race trim. That could be very beneficial for the drivers. We now go into it. Of course, pre-season races, there's some slight differences in the lobby settings. Completely clear weather, no damage, no safety cars, just to get a better and more representative view of how the drivers all stand against each other pace-wise, so maybe we can make any changes we need to the divisions. Another thing I will say, And I've stressed this in multiple preseason races across different championships in LOE. Please, if you are a driver, make sure you're seeing out the race. We don't want to be getting less information from you. So make sure you're going through, even if the race hasn't gone your way, to see it through to the end, and yeah, so the organisers can get a better evaluation of where you stand and can make a better judgment as to where you should be. Yeah, make sure you're finishing off these races. That said, though, most important thing, have great fun out there, and I'm sure we are going to have great fun watching these drivers out there at the moment. Out there on the track, I believe Iro Packer is the first driver out on track for the new season. Of course, a retaining driver in Division 2. And with such a mix-up here, we really have no clue how these guys are all going to react to each other out on track. And these going to be first impressions here going throughout it then. For Season 5, Aiden, we're going to get our first indication throughout this qualifying session of where all these 20 drivers stand.
Definitely, this is going to be, like I said a little bit earlier on, so difficult to predict who's going to come out on top. Speaking of Packer being first out on the track, we get to see a full lap around the track with him, and he surprised me quite a lot last season. Actually adapted Division 2, moving up from Division 3 pretty well. Had some good standout performances throughout the season, so he'll try and carry that over, but with this whole new field, that's obviously going to be a lot more difficult to pull off. Notable thing as well to look out for, Larkin's gone out on a set of medium compound tyres, so he's going to try something a little bit different in qualifying.
Yeah, that alternate strategy, but of course these drivers only get one set of the medium, so maybe that's just an early session plan. Let's keep an eye out then. Over Iro Packer, the American, over the line to kick off this new season. Onto the brakes, into the first corner, getting stopped into second gear, then short shifting the third, fighting for traction on the exit, then you're powering towards turn 2, the second DRS zone on the lap. You're braking again in a turn 2, medium speed corner, running a little bit wide as Packer. You want to try and get as much exit speed as you can so you can power up towards turn 4 then at the end of the first sector. First sector times is 26.4. That's not too shabby for Packer, but he does run wide. It does invalidate that lap. Is he going to continue to push on? Looks like he will. Heading through turns 6 and 7 at the chicane. A lot of curb to be used on the inside there. Try not to overdo it. Try not to run it out. Nice and clean there for Packer. Now into the single file S section then. Coming through then. Flat out you are. Going through turn 10 and then a slight dab of the brakes into turn 11. Again, as you can see there, we've got Arcolo getting a penalty for coming together. XL Ryan down there on the track. These drivers, of course, jostling for position on outlaps. Outlaps tend to be quite slow around this track, trying to preserve the tyres for the lap itself. A lap itself that's coming to an end for Packer. We know it will not be a valid lap time, but we'll see where he stands anyway. Round the final turn, Packer to the line, does he 1:13.5 to kick off the session, and that's immediately bested. QVR Kumbly, of course, demoted from Division 1, will be eager to make an impression on top. And Nolan, who came up right from D4, he's gone up there and managed to impress somewhat, right up behind the former Division 1 driver Kumbly. Yorno behind in third place, Larkin on the mediums slots into fourth. So we're seeing the early lap times coming in, and predictably the former Division 1 driver Kumbly up at the front, but you suspect it may all change there as the lap times continue to pour in at this early phase of the session.
You would imagine so, with how the track conditions are usually in this game. It does improve as the session goes on. Just seeing Gary come around the final corner now in the McLaren. He's going to cross the line, and he goes on to provisional pole with a 13.3, nearly exactly a tenth quicker than Kumbly. Both obviously previous D1 drivers. Gary moved down to Division 2 midway through last season, looking to try and improve. And Total P's now up to fourth as well. P's up from Division 3 reserve last season, now into Division 2. And that's a great lap from Total P's to go P4 on a 13.6. So look out for some of those guys a bit further down the field that maybe haven't set the best of times so far. Yorno, best, especially in D3 last season, would not really set the best opening lap time, and then would come on song towards the end of the session. IFR Falk now goes P2 by 1,000th of a second over Kumbly. So great front row time there from Falk. But the one that's impressed me so far is Nolan from D4 up to D2. That is a massive jump. We obviously saw that from Ryan last season, and Ryan struggled a little bit to get to grips with it. Nolan already straight into the top 5 with that time. Yeah,
bag on the pace already as the Red Bull driver for this session. Anyway, good strong start for Nolan. Let's see if he can keep that momentum going. MMA Slash is going through in the last sector. I think that Spag is coming through, but also looks like he's backed off, going for another run out there on the lap. So we're getting, of course, most of the drivers come towards the end of their opening runs out there on the track. And so we're going to see where everyone stands out there. Slash is coming in this final corner, and Slash's one lap pace was phenomenal last season. You suspect he may well be one of the championship favourites. Over the line though, not the best start to the session. 7th place for the moment for the Williams, and a lot of drivers bailing on their first runs there. Zoudema is still out there, we're getting massively offline, going through that chicane. And it looks like he's still pushing on, and it hasn't actually come up saying he's validated. I think he has just about backed off in the end. But that looks like it's going to bring to an end the first runs. XL Gary not having the best season the season last season, of course. The former Division 2 champion making the impression that he needs then on professional pole. But as expected from this division, the margin's very, very small up there.
Incredibly tight, and with such a short track as well, the margins are going to be tight. Any slight error can really cost you around here. And one thing I noticed riding on board with Slash actually towards the end of the lap, you could tell in the final sector that he was starting to overheat those soft tyres ever so slightly, was picking up a lot of understeer in the penultimate 2 corners. Another thing to note as well, a lot of these drivers are running out of ERS well before the final corner. And that's another thing to note. A lot of people are, I know from practice so far this week, a lot of people are experimenting a little bit with ERS in qualifying, maybe turning it off at some points in the lap, just so that they can use the ERS out of the last corner. It can gain you up to about 2/10 if you can keep the ERS going till the end of the lap. So look out for some people maybe trying to do something a little bit different with their ERS strategy on a qualifying lap as well.
Yeah, there are some quite slow corners around here that rely on traction, where you can definitely afford to turn that deployment down and make sure that you're getting to the end of the lap. Okay, let's see what drivers do that and see what drivers don't. Because I know it can be a little bit mentally taxing to change your modes during a flying lap. NSX Yorno, I think, will kick off the second runs out there. Not the fastest time so far, but of course coming up, I believe, from Division 3. We'll see what he can make of that then, getting round to that AlphaTauri. We'll see what he can do then. 10th at the moment, but just a minute improvement can send him rail up the order then. NSX Yorno, we're in the final turn. Take us to the lap 8 in there. Over the line, the AlphaTauri. Can he improve on that 10th position?
We'll wait and see. Last season's Division 3 champion, can he make a mark in Division 2? Downhill then into Turn 1, quite a long run actually into Turn 1, one of the longest ones on the calendar, despite it being such a small track. Through Turn 1, nice and neat on the exit, a little bit of a wobble, got too much curb on the exit, that affected his traction out of the corner. Down through Turn 2 then, keep it tight, run it out wide on the exit, the corner, doesn't use all the road, as you all know, maybe trying to square off Turn 3 a bit so he doesn't lose too much momentum. Up the hill then towards Turn 4. What is his first sector time? It's a half a tenth improvement at 26.4. Oh, but he has a big snap at the top of 4, well held, but that invalidates his time, unfortunately, and I think he's going to back off. As you know, yeah, he's going to back off now. I think that is his time over with, unfortunately, for Yorno. A slight mistake at the top of Turn 4, but that is so easy to do around this track. It's so easy to run slightly wide and ruin your time. Spag is another one that's made a mistake at Turn 5, but he's on very old soft compound tyres. He gets out of the way, I believe, of one of the Haas cars nicely. I think that might be Packer that's on a lap, so we'll ride on board with him for the second time in this session. Through the middle part of the lap now, looking nice and neat so far, doesn't run out too wide, easy to invalidate on the exit of Turn 9, and Turn 11 turns in too early though for Turn 11, and actually invalidates on the inside of the corner. It's a 52.4 at the end of the second sector as well, so it's looking pretty decent, but a lot of people already making mistakes on their second runs.
Yeah, very easy to do so. I'm just watching though. Kumblai is very quick going through that second sector of the lap there, but he has invalidated as well. He was nearly 3/10 up as the Renault, but those mistakes beginning to creep in at a track where it's very easy to invalidate your lap times then. Through it to the line of XL Larkin coming through, and that's up in a 4th place for the long-standing Division 1 driver looking to make an impression early on. It's tucked in underneath as Ryan goes to the top, and he had a very disappointing run throughout last season. A lot of people were calling for him to get moved down, but he is proving them wrong, and that is a big lap from XL Ryan up to the top. Mikraz goes into the second in the Alfa Romeo, but Ryan, don't think we were expecting that, and that just shows you must expect the unexpected in a division like this. Skyzy goes up in the 5th place as well, but XL Ryan making a huge statement then. Times are improving, but the Renault up to the top, and that just shows Peas tops that completely, goes up to onto a 113 flat, so the times are coming down in this part of the session. Gary peps that, so everyone queuing up to knock the lap times down, and wow, XL Gary, he'll be hungry for another championship. Dylan is round the final corner now in the Red Bull. Can he get up to the top? It's only 14th position, not the lap time that he's capable of, I'm sure of that. But the lap time's all coming down then in that frantic second runs. But XL Gary, what a statement that is for the Irishman on professional pole. Can he improve in the last part of the session? Can he get that pole? These races don't count for any points, but there's a psychological edge to that, and making sure that you're getting the early success. That's so important. Then great stuff from Gary early on.
Really great stuff, and that just goes to show how crucial it is to get a lap time in. Kuhnblei fell from 3rd to 8th in one run of qualifying just for making a mistake in his second run. So, goes to show you've got to get the lap time in, but what a lap as well from Pease. That is a stunning lap time from Pease, who's moved up from Division 3. When he actually finished a race in Division 3 last season, he was dominant in some of the races he took part in. So, that is a statement from him as well. Ryan as well. I'm not going to lie, I was one of those drivers maybe calling for Ryan to be moved down to Division 3. In the off-season, though, he's put in some stellar performances in the 24-hour event and some other races like that. And some of the, obviously, the Esports Masters League races that we've seen as well. So that, I mean, that is a statement as well from Ryan, who struggled so much last season, maybe putting himself at the front as maybe a contender for this season.
Yeah, we'll see if he's going to follow through that into the race then. Debutant Milan up to the line, goes into 12th position. That just shows how competitive that it is on a 13.6. Just want to point out, we have 32 viewers in the stream right now. That is fantastic stuff. I think that's better numbers than what we got throughout the entirety of last season. Incredible, so thank you all for the tremendous support. MMA Slasher in the final corner. He is down though on his time. He said he was struggling in that last sector. He does find some time, but not enough. And a driver that came into this as I think one of the favourites, struggling out there at the moment here in pre-season and not putting in the lap times that I think he really should be doing. Kuhnblei's out the session now. Hopefully he can get back in, because I do think he has the pace to show much better than he has so far. So hopefully he gets back in, and hopefully that doesn't cause any major lobby issues as well. So a frantic qualifying session, now reaching its third part. Then we still have some drivers out there thundering down some lap times. But the show still goes on. Gary on that provisional pole. I think Yorno is still pushing on a flying lap then as the AlphaTauri. Big oversteer on turn 13. Keeps it together though. And now he's lining up for the exit off the final corner. The car trying to get out from underneath him. He holds it all together to the lane. Goes in a 10th position right in the thick of it. Look at how close it is. There are, as Kuhnblei does get back in the session, we have 5 drivers separated by just over half a tenth. That is the margins right here. My oh my, this is getting me excited for the real season when it kicks off in 2 weeks' time.
It's less than half a second from 1st to 11th on the grid. That is ridiculous how close it is. Packer's currently on a lap now in his 3rd run in qualifying, and I think has just set a purple middle sector. So let's see what he can do as he comes through the final sector. This is going to be his first valid lap in qualifying if he can keep it off inside the road on the last corner. Really wide though through the last corner was Packer, struggling with understeer, crosses the line and goes P6 on a 13.3. Good lap time even with that little bit of a mistake in the final corner. So that's him right in the thick of the action now as well, as someone jumps up the field.
Falk.
I think that was Falk, yeah. Ifar Falk in the second. Alfa Romeo now is the lead Alfa Romeo on a 13.1. So great lap from him as well. Got more people starting laps. J. Cole just finished a lap on the mediums. He's currently last of the people that set a valid time on a 14.6. We're still yet to see what he is capable of, and now I think we just wait for everyone else to start their final runs in qualifying, everyone leaving it, I think, to the last minute to go out when the track's at its best.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. These guys, make sure not to leave it too late out there, though. Because one of the things with this track is that drivers like to do, in my experience, like to do slightly slower outlaps to keep the tyres in the operating window for that 3rd sector. We've seen some drivers struggling there with understeer going throughout that, just the front tyres getting a bit over the limit, and yeah, just less grip. The tyres can scrub across the track surface, and you're, of course, in that case, going to be losing time out there. So these drivers going to have to be wary of each other. I believe Milan is the first driver out there to start this final run, so we'll watch the Mercedes when he gets round to it. And yeah, it's just an incredible spectacle that we have in front of us here. I cannot wait for this season. And who, though, is going to grab that all-important pole position for this Hungarian race? Gary on pole, as I think that was Falk, actually, the other Alfa Romeo going 4th, and right behind his teammates. So those IFR guys looking very strong up there and right in the mix. We're going to go with Milan, though, heading round that final corner in the Mercedes. I'll allow you to take us through it, Aiden, then guide us around as we are prepared, I'm sure, for a frantic flurry of lap times to end off this session.
Definitely, and even with a slight mistake, you can cost yourself plenty of places. Milan has just got to try and get any sort of improvement that he can. Even a slight one could put him inside the top 10 as he heads then down in towards turn 1. Nice and neat on the brakes there. It's the apex nicely. Doesn't use all of the exit of the corner, but you don't necessarily need to out of turn 1. down towards turn 2, then round into the corner. Nice tight entry. Does he use all the exit of the road? Yes, he does. Nicely through turn 2 and then through 3. Easily flat up the hill towards turn 4. What is his first sector time? Looking for a low 26, 26.2. That is a great first sector from Milan. Then through turn 5, stay away from that curb on the inside. You can spin out. Nice squared off exit to the corner there for Milan, right on the edge. Now into the chicane. Don't use the sausage curves because that can unsettle your car. Milan gets away with it though. Through this next part of the lap, then through 8 and then through turn 9. He's got a little bit of traffic in front of him on the road. He's going to have to hope that they all see him coming then as they come through turn 11. One of the Alfa Romeos moves off to the side. That's Mikras moving out the way. 51.8. This is a flying lap for Milan so far. On debut then as he comes into the final sector, has he kept his tyres in check? Will all these drivers in front see him as he comes through the penultimate corner? Nice and tight to the inside and now into the final corner. He might get a little bit held here by Skies. It's not going to affect him too much though as he comes round turn 14, the final corner. It's been a stunning lap so far and it's a 13 flat. What an improvement from Milan to go from 14th to pole position. Stunning lap time. Now it's up to everyone else to beat that.
That Milan announcing himself to Division 2 then with that lap. It's 300s up, but we still have a lot of lap times to come flying in. Autogear Nolan, the Division 4 champion, coming around that final turn now. Gets on the throttle nicely, opens up that DRS. Currently 13th, goes up into 5th. A good lap then, and within a 10th of pole, but it's still only P5. That is remarkable. So let's see now how the rest of the drivers are going to shape up. I'm watching Ryan spinning into the wall as the Renault. And having said that time at the midpoint of the session, I've been hoping for so much more than he got then. So we have, I believe it's Nico coming up to the line, stays in 8th position, just a minute improvement for the Spaniard, and he's not able to get any further up. Now I believe XL Dillon will be hunting for much more in this session, but he's just starting a flyer now. And also Spaga behind is getting himself on 2 laps, and a lot of drivers making moves last minute, trying to get onto flyers. Then you can see Ryan recovering. He has actually, I think, got away with that without damage, so he can continue to push on, as I think that was Arcola coming over the line. He showed some great qualifying form throughout last season. Gary up to the line again, just kicking things off. So a lot of drivers are just getting on to their final runs. We have about half a minute on the clock. The Alfa Romeo Falco also over the line. Here we're looking to try and move further up then, and also the racing points of XL Larkin coming through now, and that's up in a 6th place. Gets right up into the mix as well as the former D1 driver. Total P's then, former provisional pole setter in that session. Let's see what he can do with that. Kublai, I think, is next up over the line, but it's not an improvement for the Dutchman, and he will start no higher than 12th, I believe, in that session. Jekyll improves to 13th then, right in the mix. There is 4/10 of a second from 1st to 14th. What on earth is going on out here? Is Gary going to change that though? No, he's going off in his final run. So that is not going to be an improvement. Whereas Topaz, he is up in that final first sector, but not as quick as Milan. Can Milan snatch a shock pole position here? XL Dillon will not improve. Disaster in qualifying then for the Red Bull driver. Yarno to the line. It's 14th in the end. Does not improve on his time. So who is left then to topple in this session? I believe it's one of the Haas drivers. Akolo goes into 11th place then, puts himself into the midfield, into the mix then. Zanima coming through. It's only 16th position for the Dutchman, unable to find any more then. Packer coming up to the line. Is invalid though on his lap time, and he will not improve on that position. Now Mikras does go 4th then. I'm not sure if that was an improvement. Total Pace, can he snatch pole from Milan into death? No! He loses out in the last sector, and he has to settle for 3rd, and I don't think that pole is going to fall. Slash isn't improving. Kumbly is going slowly. Jekyll is coming around the final corner, but he is not going to improve. Milan, a shock pole possession in one of the closest qualifying orders I've seen. He takes pole possession. What a way to announce yourself to Division 2.
This is not the order I was expecting coming into this round. Milan on debut on pole, Gary, Pease, Mikras and Nolan are top 5. That is absolutely incredible, and all the people I thought that were going to be at the front of the grid are at the back of the grid. Dylan's last on the grid, Slash is 18th, Yorno's 15th, and Kuhn Bly, who had an amazing first lap, ended up 13th on the grid. That goes to show how close it is, and if qualifying's this close throughout the rest of the season, I might not survive. That's absolutely insane. The top 18, 6/10 of a second.
Look at that! That is incredible. My mouth is wide open at the moment then. Milan, pole from Gary. No final run improvements from those guys. May have been ruining that. Well, Gary in total pace not able to snatch that pole position. McCrass a solid 4th place. Nolan impresses on his first appearance in Division 2 at 5th in front of Larkin and 6th then on the 3rd row. The 4th row is occupied by Falk and XL Ryan. Nico and Pack around at the top 10. Watch out for the guys outside the top 10, the free choice of tyres. Arcolo 11th but has that penalty that he's going to have to serve for the start of the race. Skyzy, Kublai, Jaco, Yorno, Zerwa, Spag, Slash, RGTW, and Dylan round out the grid. Top 18 separated by half a second. Game on Division 2. This season promises so much. I cannot wait to see these guys all together on track.
That, oh, my word, what a lineup this has been. I think I don't know what to say. I mean, hats off. I mean, we're only one qualifying into the preseason, and my word, they've done a stellar job with the Division 2 field. That is so close throughout the field. And it goes to show that for the rest of the season, you could come to a track that maybe you don't like compared to one that you do, and that could drop you from maybe first down to the bottom end of the top 20. So that is absolutely insane. I can't believe how close it is throughout the field, and what a stellar performance that was from Milan. I was kind of all but writing off Milan for being even inside the top 10 in qualifying, and he was the only one that really made any significant improvement in that final run in the session, maybe apart from Nolan. So that is absolutely stunning from Milan. So let's see if he can pull it off in the race as well.
I don't know what to expect from this race. I must be honest, Aidan. It is going to be stunning, I have no doubt. For a very brief moment, we hit 40 viewers in the stream, which is unlike anything I don't think we've ever had for Division 2. I think part of the reason for that is that unfortunately the Division 5 stream isn't up, I don't believe, at the moment. So hopefully these guys can get it sorted out and provide some D5 action for all of you watching. Milan, shock pole position. Gary alongside him on the front row. We'll take a look for the guys outside the top 10 because as we were alluding to, tyre wear is very high around this track, and as you can see from those guys outside the top 10, the soft tyre, they're all steering well clear of that.
They definitely are. So Skyzy and Kuhnblei then mediums, as you would expect. I'm quite shocked though. 13th to 18th, all on a set of hard compound tyres. So they've gone even further with that alternate strategy. RJDW is going to be the one to look out for on a set of mediums, currently in 19th. He's going to be looking to try and make some places early on. I think some of these drivers may have been watching the Division 3 race though, because looking at that one, Caesar started that race in, I believe, 17th place. Started on a set of hard compound tyres, and by the time we got to about 10 laps to go in the race, he was on a set of mediums, running in second. So that alternate strategy can be massively important around this circuit because of how poor the soft tyres are, and it's all about when these guys feel like they can come in off of the soft compound tyres, go for a set of hards if that's what they want to go for, and whether they can make them last to the end of the race.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle for those guys inside the top 10. The thing that they have on their side, though, is track position, and it is very difficult to overtake here at Hungary. So they do have that going for them. And to draw comparisons to your Caesar anecdote, I saw in the Division 1 race, NSX Corner start 17th and finish 2nd on a hard to medium strategy. So you can definitely see the merit of that, and so don't rule out anyone outside the top 10. They're going to have a very nice time trying to fight through and have a much easier run on the tyres then. I'm going to come to you, Aidan, but just before we go on the grid then, I'm going to give you the near impossible task of predicting the top 3 for this pre-season race.
I knew you were going to ask me. Unbelievable. Top 3 in this race. I'm going to go for Gary for the race win. I think he might be the one to look out for in this one. And then that alternate strategy is really going to be crucial. So I'm going to say Kuhnblei maybe for a second place in this race. And third, oh my word, this is so difficult to predict. But, oh my word, I think third place in this one, I'm going to go for Larkin third.
Okay, I think that's a very sensible pick, of course. Don't forget, penalties can be very important around this circuit. You're going to see quite a few of those getting racked up throughout the race. Everyone is settled, and we are going to get underway, everyone. Here we go. For the first time we see these guys on track together, we have 5 lights. And we are away for Hungary, the pre-season event. Who's got the best start from the front of the grid then? Milan looks like he's going to convert that. Gary's slow off the line and he's under pressure immediately from the inside McCrass, from the outside Total Pace. They barrel into turn 1 3 wide, and it may be the Alpha that gets to it. And on the inner line, I think Falk was spinning there at turn 1. on, as it looks like the McLaren of Gary will just keep hold of that second place, runs wide, they're going through turn 2, up and alongside goes Pease, sweeping round the outside of 3, but no, it's coming off then, but still, Milan leads the way. They can see the field filtering through. We've had incident back there in the field as the graphics finally sort themselves out after the first sector. Packers went off, and so is Falk. So those guys starting inside the top 10. Larkin's at disaster off the start as well, as they all jostle for position in the middle sector of the lap then. You can see them all barreling down, then you can see Spag and Larkin battling down the field, then you can see the Williams cutting in front of the Racing Point, getting up in a 15th place. So, you can see some of the medium runners there, Kumblai and Skyzy. Kumblai had a great start up in 8th place and has the advantage of being the leading medium runner on the road, and right with the soft runners in front of him as well, as they all settle into line. Chaos on the opening lap, but Milan's did exactly what he needed to do. Great launch off the line, has a considerable lead at the first lap, and now it's up to Gary and the rest to try and chase the Mercedes driver down.
Really well maintained from Gary there as well, that he was able to hold on to those places further back into turn 1. I think that was kind of caused a little bit by Packer. They were 4 wide going into turn 1. Packer was on the inside, and there just wasn't enough room. It was a late braking manoeuvre from Packer, but I think caught some of the drivers out, and obviously Falk was the one that was caught up in that one quite majorly, along with the Haas driver. And the Haas driver now running at the back of the field with Spag, who's dropped down on those hard compound tyres. RJTW trying to work his way with Packer as he goes around the outside of the Ferrari at turn 2, and I think he's just going to make that move stick. He does through turn 3. Those soft tyres working nicely for Packer, trying to work his way back through the field. Some of the hard runners, though, they got off the line well. Other hard runners really struggling. Dylan and Spag noticeably not enjoying these hard compound tyres at the start of this race. Zaldam is loving them. He's up to 10th. He's had a great start, but he's already becoming a little bit detached from Skyzy and Kumblai in front.
Yeah, those hard tyres, maybe getting into the temperature window could be a bit of an issue, although as you mentioned earlier, it's possible to overheat them. Up at the front, Toto Pease with a penalty very early on in this race. That's not what you want to see. It can set a bad tone as well for the rest of the race, so Pease going to have to get back into that rhythm. He's still having to contain the Alfa Romeo of McCross, and behind him over the line, we're on to the third lap. DRS will be active with it, but it won't be used until the very end of the lap when they come through again. Gary chasing down, and he does set the fastest lap of the race early on. The McLaren is charging. Expect early pit stops though, as Larkin's losing place there. So is Arkolo. As Arkolo dropping back then. Slash getting up and alongside Yorno trying to fight back to the outside on these hard tyres, and Larkin trying to get through on the inside. They're going to go side by side for 13th. They're battling to the nail all the way down the field. Through goes the Racing Point on a comeback drive, nearly into the back as well of Slash up the road, and you can see them all jostling for position. Arcola running quite wide then up the road as Nolan, the second driver to pick up penalties. Those promotees from lower divisions having a tough time keeping it clean. They were very good on pace, but maybe the penalties creeping in very early on after they've never raced in this sort of company before. Milan leads the way though, as you can see the panel still raging on. Packer was looking at Dylan, caught down, round goes the Haas and into the wall again, and he will not get damage switched off, but he's going to have to recover from the rear now, and that's a disaster in Packer's race. Up at the front though, Milan holding his own at the front, Gary going with him, and at the moment Pease is struggling to hold on. The top two look a smidge faster than the rest of the pack behind them.
Yeah, they definitely do. I was just about to say that, actually, that Milan and Gary looking a bit more comfortable at this point in the race. Milan as well. He's used a bit more ERS, though, than Gary, as Packer has spun again coming through turn 11, so I think he has cooked those soft compound tyres. What a disaster. Of course, no safety cars in this race either, so he's going to have to rely on great pace to bring himself back up the field again. I imagine he'll be in the pits at the end of this lap. Milan still leads then. DRS is now fully active for the drivers behind. This is the first time they get to use it. Gary into turn 2, not close enough, though. Pete still running in third, obviously, with that penalty looming over him. Same with Nolan running in fifth. Nico 6th, Ryan 7th. Kumblai just biding his time. Always as I say that, massive snap coming out of 2 into turn 3, and Skies is going to capitalise on it. Skies round the outside towards turn 4, capitalises on Kumblai's mistake, and now he's the lead driver on the medium compound tyres. A little bit of an error there from Kumblai. We've got a yellow flag. That's Arcolo in the second Haas that's had a moment coming out of turn 3, so both Haas cars really struggling on completely different strategies. They've just got no grip.
Yeah, and when you spin up the tyres once around this track, it can dramatically offset your tyre grip for the remainder of the stint. And so these drivers are all going to have to put up with it there. Milan leading the way, but it looks like he's slightly cooked the tyres because they're all coming back towards him now. Gary is right with him. Expect the first pit stops on this lap. What is the race leader going to do about this? There's such a risk of an undercut, but it looks like for the most part they are actually staying out. Nico is the first driver in then in the McLaren, and Ryan follows them in. So these drivers It's logical, near the back of the soft train, they want to get out of that, they want to grab an undercut then, and they got everything to gain, not as much to lose, so into the pits, Nico and Ryan, if they get out okay, Falk is in behind as well after a scrappy start then, Kublai coming back at Skyzy to the inside, the Renault goes through, DRS for Skyzy as well, but Kublai will hold on to that sick position, and again the medium runners swap places, have drifted back though, from the soft starters, in part due to the pit stops of Nico and Ryan. Falcon as well, they're all out clean air as Milan from the lead gets a penalty, and that's in part because Gary is putting serious pressure on then. He didn't have a great showing last season, but he's proving that he can really fight for the championship this time around. Gary pedaling on, and he's the leading driver now without a penalty. Very comfortable Gary looks in, not really overstretching, keeping it nice and clean. He's underfueled the car, so he's got less weight behind him, which is probably explaining his pace early on, but Gary looking very strong in this early part of the race and really taking the fight to Milan at the front.
It really is, and I think Milan's reached that crucial point on those soft tyres where they are starting to overheat. He's having to use his ERS to really compensate for the lack of pace that he's got, so he's down to only about 25%. And Milan's going to be into the pits. I think Gary's going to follow him in. Pease has to stay out because the lead is obviously his teammate, so that's going to affect Pease later on.
Who was that? McCrass and Nolan have gone off then at the final corner. Didn't quite catch the start of that, but they both slipped well down the field. You can see Nolan is alongside Jagle, who cruises down the inside line, are looking for that fifth position. They hit the brakes as one, but I think that the inside line for the Racing Point will just about see him through. DRS is active again. I'm looking towards the pit lane, see if there's any changes in position as Nolan down the inside on Jagle, but Jagle sweeps around the outside. We'll get that fifth position in front. The Red Bull driver has to slow down behind. Looking at the order of the net race leaders then, Nico now right in behind Gary. He's put himself into the limelight, and a difference in strategies as Milan to the mediums, and that suggests that he must be going for a two-stop, while everyone else in that lead pack is committed to a one-stop strategy. Now two-stop may well be theoretically faster, but what Milan is going to have to do is work his way through a serious amount of traffic, and so I'd say it's advantage McLaren at this stage. Gary and Nico in formation look very strong in that position.
Yeah, they definitely do. This is great for them at the moment. Obviously, these two back as teammates for the first time since 2 seasons ago when Gary won the championship. So I'm sure this is really putting a spark beneath them at the moment. They're doing great. Ryan as well, now running really solidly. 16th on the road, but that could be a possible net P4 in this race after the contact that we've seen between the Alfa Romeo of Falk and I believe then that was Nolan as well that was into that contact. Pease is into the pit lane. There's a yellow flag in sector 2, but that's not really for anyone, I don't believe. So Pease into the pit lane, so he's the last of the soft runners up into the pit lane as well. So Mikras and Nolan are both into the pits, so everyone that started on the softs is now off of those tyres, and Pease has gone for a set of mediums. So Pease has gone for something a little bit different. He's very clearly going for the two-stop strategy. Where does he come out? He's come out ahead of Gary. That is a brilliant in-lap there from Total Pease, that he's been able to overcut Gary. That's brilliant stuff from him. So now all of a sudden Pease is into a net P2, but on a completely different strategy in this race. So Pease is going to have to get past his teammate and push like hell.
Let's see what he can do with that then. Both of Mercedes are going to have to do the same. Let's see what they can make of it. Up the front then, Kublai has inherited that race lead, and he's in a strong position as well, don't forget. He can go out longer, have some fresher hards underneath him when he comes into the pit lane. Will still be a few laps before he's thinking about that, and then he can come back at him. He was on the back of Pease. We've got an incident, the spinner. Oh no, that's RGGW that's gone off there at the exit of the chicane. He must have got out of shape there, and he's retired on the spot, and that's exactly what I didn't want to see drivers doing. You're losing out on a chance for the orgs to evaluate you, and RGDW is going to not be able to continue in this race. No safety cars, of course, but he's straight out the session. And wow, Aiden Carter, I really wasn't hoping to see that throughout this session, but that's not what we want to see. RJ out of the way then, out of the race, and will not be given any more to his name. Up at the front though, Gary holding firm in front of his teammate Nico. Nico can maybe back you up in this race, and the two Mercedes have all the pressure on him because they're the ones that have to try and get out that gap. Pease looking a little bit quicker than Milan early on as Nico getting close to his teammate. I think the question is, are there going to be any team orders here, or are these guys going to go at it then, as they could be battling for a potential race win here?
Definitely could. All of a sudden, it seems like as soon as they've gone onto the hard compound tyres, Gary doesn't look as comfortable. Obviously, the two in front are on the medium, so they are going to pull away. But even so, Gary under a lot of pressure from Nico, and Ryan is slowly but surely catching them. Further back behind them, it's Larkin who's next on the road, but he's a good 4.5 seconds back. So we'll see if he can maybe try and make some inroads. Falk and Nolan back on track by each other once again, and that's 15th and 16th for them. So that's such a shame, especially for Nolan to be taken out in such an unfortunate fashion. So he'll be hoping to work his way a bit further up. Back to those two medium runners, though, at the front of the field. Kuhn Bly doing a sterling job. He's really pulled away from Skyzy now, nearly 3 seconds. And Zaunama and J. Cole on the hard tyres as well. We've got to keep an eye out for them. Penalty-free as it stands, and they are both holding decent pace at the two leaders. In fact, Zaunama, I think, is slowly but surely closing in on Skyzy. So those hard compound tyres looking nice for them. And they're not actually that much older than the tyres that people have already pitted off of. And they'll be going on to the mediums probably later on. So Zaunama and J. Cole, got to watch out for them in the second half of the race.
Yeah, we've seen in the other races this evening as Total Pace predictably sets the fastest lap of the race. He is still coming at his teammate and predictably as well moving away from the hard runners behind. But yes, Kuhn Bly looking very strong out there, and he is gapping Skyzy pretty considerably. But don't overlook Zaunama, leading hard starter, and in the Ferrari still maintaining pace pretty solidly out there on the track. When he does come into the pit lane later on in the race, he can really start to fly up to them. He'll have a massive tyre advantage over everyone in front. So let's see what he can do with that then. Zaunama keeping himself in contention as Ryan, one of the net race leaders, picks up a time penalty, and all of a sudden the McLaren position looks even stronger now as they're still clean at this point in the race.
At the moment, yeah, a possible 1-2 for McLaren in the first pre-season race would be strong as Falk now picks up a penalty, running in 15th, so that's a problem for him as well a little bit further down. Luckily for him, Nolan behind him on the track also has a penalty, so that's not going to affect him too much as it stands. Yeah, McLaren looking really strong. Nico, that was an inspired decision by both Nico and Ryan to come in a little bit earlier, because it got them out of the way of all that carnage between the Alfa Romeos and Nolan, and it got them free of all that, and they were able to pump in some good lap times, and now they're running in net podium places, so their race now really depends on whether they can keep with Gary and how fast the Mercedes will be later on in this race.
Yeah, and at the moment Gary isn't really losing that much time to the Mercedes in front then. They are quicker, but they're not pulling away by the extent that I maybe expected from them, and so that does still swing the advantage towards Gary, still a net race leader out there. Altogether, Nolan is lining up a pass on IFR Falk further down the field then, has some DRS under him and using the overtake. He'll want to try and get at him then. The inside line is not covered, but Nolan is not quite within range to launch an attack, and as to sit him behind, he has some fresh tyres underneath him, and he'll be looking to recover after being wiped out by Mikras. And I can say now that Mikras, the reason for that incident was Mikras having controller issues, unfortunately. So yeah, very unlucky for both those drivers to be collected at that. Checo picking up a penalty. We're seeing those penalties racking up for a lot of the drivers. Arcola getting one as well. So you can see a lot of drivers really racking them up, and that could dramatically change the order. It's one thing to get a good result out on track, but a track like the Hungaroring, you need to make sure you keep it clean as well, because if you, in a field as close as this, if you're winning a race but you have 15 seconds of penalties, you could find yourself dropping into the lower reaches of the points just because of how close and competitive this field is. So you really need to keep on top of your game. A slash now, moving on Jacob to the inside of turn 1. Jacob with a better exit. Can he try and get back at the Williams? He goes up to the outside, heading for turn 2. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? Jacob running round the outside, but he's not going to pull it off then. Inside line is maintained by MMA Slash, who's not at the best of time of things out there on the track, but he does jump Jacob now and has to settle for 5th now on the road. Further up the road though, Zaunama is coming into his zone even further, as now the struggling Frenchman of Skyzy up the road, coming under pressure. Zaunama reining him in, and Kuhn Bly continuing to impress up at the front. He's showing why he was in Division 1 for 2 seasons, leads by 5 seconds on the track, and you sense that he could have a real run at the top drivers near the end of the race if he keeps this up.
Definitely could, and I think the clean airs worked beautifully into his hands. He's struggling a little bit in the pack of cars, running in so much dirty air. He just didn't seem comfortable. As soon as he got into that free air, he's just disappeared. So if he can get back into the pack in a bit of clean air, he could be a massive threat towards the end of this race. Before the pit stops, he was 1 place behind Ryan, and Ryan now runs in a net 3rd place out of all of the people that have pitted. So this is great for Kuhn Bly. A possible win on the cards maybe for the Renault if he can pull this strategy off towards the end of the race. And Zaunama nearly within DRS range, but not quite. Further back though, the rest of the hard runners are all starting to queue up a little bit behind each other. Slash leads that queue. He's just overtaken J. Cole, who's now being caught by his fellow D3 driver Yorno, who obviously beat him to the championship last season, and Dylan is also closing in on those guys as well after a bit of a poor start for him. So as Packer picks up a time penalty, still running down in 19th at the moment. So yeah, it's all starting to close in for the hard runners. Zaunama's gapped the rest of the hard runners, and he seems to be the one that's working nicely on them.
as Nolan moves past Falco on the inside line. Falco fighting back to the outside, and again they're going to go dueling in a turn 2. Can the Alpha go right round the outside? He's going to get caught off there. Nolan holds that inside line. I wanted to mention quickly though, Kumblai's pace is impressive. His gap to Gary is 19.3 seconds and not really fluctuating much at all. If anything, Gary's just not gaining at all. So as it stands, Kumblai looking very strong out there. He may well come out in, at the very least, in the net 4th place, only behind Gary, Nico and Ryan. Fresher tires underneath him. I think you're right. There is a potential win on the cards, and I know Kumblai. He very rarely picks up penalties, as I think that's our Colo that's going off. Both the Haas drivers have had disasters out there on the track and had horrible shows out there at the moment. But Kumblai still leading the way. The gap to Gary is now 19.5. If anything, it's extending. Gary not any quicker than him. You mentioned he's not quite as comfortable on this hards. He's struggling to stay in it. There's going to be more pit stops from Milan and Total P's. Kumblai has a very real chance here of maybe he can fight for this race win. He is showing his credentials here in this race.
He really is, and I tell you what, Kumblai's pace is actually matching the 2 Mercedes, who are on fresher medium tyres than him, so that is great stuff from Kumblai. He's got so much speed in that car at the moment. Pease at this point in the race, you can tell, is being held up by his teammate. He's all over the rear wing of Milan, but just can't find a way through, and they're now starting to catch all the hard runners, so it's just going to get worse for the Mercedes. This 2-stop has not worked for them so far. They needed to get up the road, and they've not done that by enough. They need at least another 10 seconds to be even within a shout of a podium later on in this race. I think Kumblai's pace is so strong that if he pits now, he would probably come out maybe even ahead of Ryan, because Ryan's lost DRS range to Nico, and since then has kind of dropped back a bit. Larkin's been closing in on Ryan ever so slightly, and Ryan's just been losing touch with the 2 McLarens in front. So if Kumblai were to pit now, I think he would come out in a net 3rd place with just the 2 McLarens in front, and that could be very easy meat. On board with Skyzy, 6.3 seconds is the gap now between the top 2. Since Kumblai's past Skyzy's just had no answer for him.
Yeah, that gap continues to extend even now. The pit stops are going to be coming quite soon for those medium runners, maybe even on this lap, and we're going to get answers to that question. The Mercedes may well be swapping here as Total P's to the outside, heading into turn 1. Can he outbrake Milan? Milan doesn't find it. Through goes P's up into 9th place now. Milan had to let him go. So finally they swap, and now can Total P's get on with his race. He's shown better pace all the way throughout this stint. Now has to press on. His problem, though, lies in the face of Spag, of Dylan, of Yorno, of J. Cole, of even Slash, who are all within his range. And now it's the first sector for Peace. He's flying out there. You know the pace that he has, but he needs to get through these cars and needs to get through them quickly and clinically if he wants any chance of fighting amongst the top drivers here. This 2-stop, having to get through traffic, is not the strategy to be on, I think. So Peace needs to fly and get through this as quickly as he can. Spag right in front of him, and if I know anything about Spag, he is not going to lie down and accept a position loss. So Peace going to have to work for this one. Milan as well is going to have to stay with him. Gary and Nico still well within range. Is up at the front. Kumblai stays out in the lap. He's stretching these tyres, and he can, as no one gets a penalty, because still Gary's not catching him. That gap is still 19.5 seconds between him. Kumblai on older tyres, he's not any slower than the net race leaders.
This is stunning pace from Kumblai. Remember, he qualified, 11th on the grid or 12th on the grid. So my word, as Pease sets the fastest lap of the race, that's more like it from Pease. Now that he's out of from being behind his teammate, he's already broken DRS to Milan. So what could have been if Pease wasn't stuck behind his teammate for so long? He's already caught the back of Spag as well, and Spag, luckily for him, Spag doesn't have DRS to any of the drivers in front, so Spag should be relatively easy compared to the other hard runners. I think both Mercedes are expecting, maybe when they pitted, to be out ahead of the hard runners, and that could have worked for them. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So if this race was a little bit longer, then maybe it would have worked for them, but as it stands, this just is not going to work. They don't have the pace at this point in the race or the clean air to pull this strategy off. So it's going to be all about the end of the race, whether they can work their way back through the field. But technically, as it stands, Pisa Milan are behind Dylan and Spag on the track in terms of net position as well, because they are probably going to be pitting very soon themselves as well onto another set of mediums, just like these guys. So it's really not worked. It's going to drop Milan and Pisa from a potential podium, maybe even outside the top 10.
As now we have pit stops from our race leaders, and this is going to be a real moment of truth here. Kublai to the pit lane, Skyzy in behind him as well, as he was just getting pressured by Zonema. The Frenchman times it right. Now, where does Kublai emerge? Onto the hard tires predictably. Good clean stop. He can definitely take those to the end of the race. Where does he emerge? The Mercedes will get through 80 kilometers an hour. Now can accelerate up to racing speed, and he is right in amongst here as Kublai. No way does he jump Gary. Gary to the outside lane. They go side by side. Has Kublai done the impossible here? He drives through it. Gary trying to hold that inside lane, coming back in a minute turn 2, but he can't. He has no answer, and what an overcut. Kublai snatches the net race lead now, out there at the front of the race. That is brilliant from Kublai, as McCrath's now at the session, the second car out of the way. But what a series of laps, what pace from Kublai. He now leads the way in front of the McLarens without a penalty. Can anyone stop the Renault driver at this point?
I don't think anyone can. That is insane. Somehow we undersold Kublai's performance. That is absolutely insane that he's been able to come out ahead of the two McLarens. I think both of the McLarens weren't expecting it, which is why Gary was trying so hard to get back ahead of Kublai. But look at that, 10-lap fresher hards. That just goes to show how strong those mediums are at the start of the race compared to the softs. Going on to the hards so early just isn't a pace advantage. So Gary and Nico probably massively caught out by that. Zaldiman now leads the race. He's the lead person that has not pitted as of yet. He's slowly but surely being caught by Slash, who does have a time penalty looming over his head. Pease has passed Spag, but is still yet to be within DRS range of Yorno in front, so he's just struggling a little bit to try and find any sort of pace. He was a little bit held up by Arcolo's AI car there as well, was all my word. A lot of people having to dodge Arcolo's car that was coming out of the pit lane. Hopefully the leaders aren't affected by that as well. They've moved out of the car's way nicely into turn 2, and everyone just about gets away with it. Skies as well came out of the pit lane directly behind Larkin. He's within DRS range, so it's not out of the question yet that Skies could still close in on the back of Ryan and maybe Nico at the end of this race.
Yeah, judging by that, if Nico gets a penalty, that can be very, very important. And let's see, because Skyzy is right there with Larkin, and he could definitely, I think, get up to them. We know that fresh tire advantage is going to be dramatic and emphatic going throughout the remainder of this Grand Prix. Kublai, though, is stretching his legs, and predictably, Gary, with less ERS, with less fuel on board, then he's going to have to manage that later on in the race. It is an everlasting battle to stay in that DRS range, but surely it's a futile battle the McLaren is fighting. Gary is giving it everything, but Kublai, you can't overturn such a tire advantage. Now he holds a great lead out there on the track then. Zenema Slash into the pit lane, so there's a transition point now with the hard runners coming in. Milan is lining up Spag to the inside line. Spag moved over, but he didn't cover all the way. And now the Mercedes to the inside line sweeps into P4 then. Emphatic move. And he's trying to move with his teammate, who now claims over the back of Yorno, over the back of Jaco, and that now duel, that scrap I should say, over the race lead out there. But look at Kublai, he's stretching his legs now. Gary cannot stay with him for the life of him. Nico's dropping back even further, and now Skyzy catching Larkin as well. He can bring himself into this race. That alternate strategy, qualifying outside the top 10, has turned out to be a huge blessing for Kublai, potentially Skyzy as well, as Slash is going off down the back of the field, and he spears off then. What a disastrous race this has been for the Williams driver.
That is such a shame. He's just pitted for a fresh set of mediums as well, and he's not going to be able to use them, and they're going to be cooked after that spin. That is such a shame. Someone who's trying to work their way back through the field is Dylan. He pitted a lap previous for a set of medium tyres. He's already passed Falcon. He's trying to get at his teammate Nolan now for 13th on the road. Zaldimer, after coming out of the pit lane, is still just behind the Skies, so we've got to keep an eye on Zaldimer's pace on this set of medium compound tyres. Where can he get to now that Nico is really dropping off the pace? Spag is into the pits, J. Cole's into the pits, Yorno is staying out, and now P's going for the move on Yorno into turn 1. Hasn't got any ERS, but that doesn't matter. Down the inside, Yorno doesn't put up a fight, and P's into turn 1. Back in the lead of the race, but is still yet to pit for a second time in this one. And Milan is slowly but surely being caught by Kublai, who's already 2.5 seconds up the road to Gary, who just hasn't got an answer on these hard compound tyres anymore. He's just got nothing left. It's all about really consolidated P2 at this point for Gary. P's, when he comes back into the pit lane, should come out relatively close to the likes of J. Cole and Slash, which is down in 14th place. What a shame for P's. He's got such good pace as P's, but just on the wrong strategy.
Yeah, the two-stop it's just not working out then. You're going to have too many cars to navigate your way through, and I think both the Mercedes have gone wrong in that regard. They had fantastic pace, but ultimately may well have just gone the wrong way around. No safety cars to throw in any randomness either, so it doesn't look like that's going to change hands in dramatic fashion. Further up the road, you have Larkin coming under pressure. He's slowly reeling in Ryan, actually. He showed good pace at the racing point, but like with Kumbla, you cannot hold back such a tyre advantage. Skyzy and Zerma now reeling in the former Division 1 driver. Can they get a move done then as they head on to the 20th tour of the Hungaroring then? Zerma's pace is very impressive though, as Kumbla predictably fastest lap of the race, flying in 4th place, and now has Milan directly in front of him then. That guy was leading the race at one point. Unbelievable stuff. You can see now as they all barrel down. Doesn't look like Skyzy's going to be close enough to Larkin. Overtaking around this track, as always, very, very difficult. Even if you have some better tyres, which is why it's so crucial that Kublai got in front of Gary coming out of that pit lane. Otherwise, Gary could have put up more of a fight. Total P's another penalty, and those Mercedes, I think, are now both on 6 seconds. How much would that hold them back against some of the leaders who are completely clean out there on the lap? So they're going to have to really fly through if they want to get any sort of considerable points out of this race. Closest battle on track, though, looks to be between Lark and Skyzy Soudema. There's also one forming up behind Nolan as he holds back Falk, and a fresh medium tyre shot XLJ Cole, who lines up the pair of them in that battle over 12th place then, which would of course be the final points taking position in an actual season. Of course, this race won't count for anything, but we are still getting an idea of where everyone stands, and we are also getting an emphatic display of driving from Kublai. 3.5 seconds clear now. Milan goes to the pit lane. Pease will surely follow suit, and as it stands right now, the Renault, he's not really under any threat there. As it stands right now, he can just cruise home and take an emphatic race victory to kick off his campaign here in Division 2.
Yeah, meanwhile, Zaunama going for a move on Skyzer here. He's got to get this move done down in towards turn 1. He's being massively held behind the AlphaTauri. Is it a late move down the inside? It is, and Skyzer doesn't recognise it earlier enough. They're going side by side down towards turn 2. Great exit corner though from Skyzer, and he blocks the move off. Zaunama then to the inside line for turn 2, but just can't get there. You can tell there's a little bit of frustration now setting in for Zaunama. The problem he has is that he's now stuck behind Skyzy, who has DRS on Larkin, who's now got DRS on Ryan. So Zaunama's moves on these medium tyres are going to have to be aggressive. And Zaunama is not the aggressive type. He's so conservative, really, really smart with his racing, but the aggressiveness just isn't quite there compared to some of the other drivers. And that's going to cost him here as they all start to queue up. He's got to find a way through to make these medium tyres work, because Dylan behind them is closing in very quickly on his set of mediums, and he's bringing himself now into play with these guys as well. You can tell Zaunama is so much faster, but with the DRS for the drivers in front, there's just nowhere to get past.
He may well be able to find a way through soon though. He is close to Skyzy, almost into the back of him through turn 12. That is the difference in braking distance. That is the difference in tyre grip between the pair of them. But can Zaunama get a move done? He does have more ERS to his name than the AlphaTauri in front then, as they claim for the exit. Can Zaunama get the move done this time? He's on the overtake early now. Can Skyzy hold it back then? Zaunama chasing him down towards the first turn. The inside's almost covered by Skyzy, but Zaunama fades the line, breaks late, locks it all up, and they're side by side again to the exit. Metal wheel to wheel contact. Zaunama trying to pull ahead then. DRS in the pair of them, and the inside line is still with Skyzy, trying to break late on the inside line, but Zaunama all over around the outside will finally get the move done. And now with pit stops, he's up in a sec and not out of reach of a podium even here with Zaunama. Want to come in, was Larkin going round. Larkin at turn 4, spearing off low from a strong points paid possession. Larkin, a rare mistake, will drop well down the field and emerges in the midfield fight. Such is the closest of the field. Alongside him and past him goes Milan on those fresh medium tyres. He's going to be flying, and he has Spag for company now right in front of him. Strategies have completely changed the course of this race. You can see Pease now on those fresh mediums trying to move forward. He has Falk right in front of him in the Alfa Romeo. Puts on the overtake. Is he going to look to the inside later at turn 12? No, he's patient about it. He thinks better of it. Kublai now has the lead for good out on track. Leads by 5 seconds over Gary, and they're all coming at each other. This midfield is so close. Total Pease looking to the inside lane. Zaunama as well chasing down Ryan. Ryan is solo on ERS, but he will not quite find a way through. Well, the Ferrari is now, total pace now, draws alongside Falk, and will get past the Alfa Romeo. Down in the turn one, gets the manoeuvre done. Milan as well on Spagden to the inside. Spagden and Williams cannot hold it back. So the Mercedes are charging now, but they've got too much to do. Pace looking at Nolan, but every time they spend as much time as they spend behind drivers, are going to be losing out. The Pizzo on the overtake. Is he going to go to the outside of turn 4? That'd be brave. That'd be bold. It would almost be stupid, and he does back out for that one. Nolan holds on to 9th place. Pace trying to charge through, salvage anything he can as those Edinburgh raining in on Ryan. My oh my, the drivers that started on the soft tyres, they're all slipping back because they tyres just do not have it in them to hold them off. And now Ryan is going to be the next victim, I suspect. Then Edinburgh, Skyzy, they're all over him. Surely he can't hold it back with 17 laps of those tyres.
No, the medium tyres are so much stronger at this point in the race. The hard tyres, especially for those that pitted early, just don't have any pace left. Nolan is being caught by so many people on a set of medium tyres. Larkin, after a spin as well, is now down the back of the field. Slash and Milan are now going side by side as Milan trying to go around the outside of turn 13 on the Williams. Can't get the move done, just about stays in 13th place. But he's trying to work his way through. Slash is on a fresh set of mediums as well, but they're a little bit older than that Mercedes as Zaldimar's going for the move on Ryan into turn 1, down the inside, and Ryan just doesn't have anything to fight with. Zaldimar's up into 4th place, Yorno with the fastest lap of the race, and Pease is up into 9th. So Pease has managed to work his way into 9th place. He's got a bit of he's got some penalties and a few drivers in front of him on a set of medium tyres that he's got to contend with, but it's still a good comeback from him, despite being on a 2-stop strategy. Zaldimar though now 4th, a net 3rd with penalties for Nico in front. Zaldimar, where on earth did Zaldimar start this race? How on earth is he going to end up on the podium?
That is remarkable. He started this race in 15th position,
Whoa.
and he now runs in P4. Stunning comeback drive, and that shows what an alternate strategy can do around this circuit. We're still seeing battles throughout this midfield there. The field has condensed completely. It's phenomenally close, and it's really only Kumblai and Gary that are clear of this, then running away at the front of the race. Then Kumblai leads 6 seconds now in front of XL Gary. Falk with a penalty then. In such close midfield, any penalty can really set you back in this fierce battle that we're seeing all the way throughout the field. Again, Milan lining up. Slash cannot get close enough. They're onto the throttle again, going out of the last corner. Are we going to see any moves here? It's very close up behind Falcon. Slash will be looking to get through, and Milan will try to take advantage of any mistakes then. MMA Slash close up to IRR for Falk to the inside line, hesitates and will be cut off by the Alfa Romeo. Is there a better exit in behind from Milan? Doesn't look like it's going to materialise. He has to sit in 13th position. Alternatively though, as a Slash again getting very close to Falk up the road, Pease has made much better progress, done a much better job out there, now runs up behind Jaco, has fresher tyres underneath him. Pease, even with a 2-stop strategy, may well be able to salvage something out of this race, because all the way up towards Ryan in 5th place then, everyone's in reach, and he has better tyres than the pair of them. Pease not out of this, but will the penalties hold him back? Then the Mercedes still charging for a good result there. Would be a brilliant comeback drive from a lowly position.
It really has, but there's been so many standout performances in this race from so many different drivers. Another note one as well, Dylan started this race 20th and last on the grid, and he currently runs P7. He's on an older set of medium tyres, so he may struggle to get to the end on those without losing any pace, but even so, running 7th is a great drive from him so far. Skyzy desperately trying to hold on, but he's closed in on Ryan at the same time as Dylan is closing on him. Ryan is slowly but surely losing pace on those hard compound tyres, as is Nico, because Zaldimar is already within a second of him, so he's closed in so quickly on the back of Nico now, who's obviously was the first person to pit off of his soft tyres, so he'll be the first person really to hit trouble along with Ryan. Further back down the field, Pease has closed in on Jaco. He's not close enough though down towards 2 to make a move. Further back, what a queue we've got forming behind Nolan all the way down, well, really towards Larkin and Yorno in 16th place. They're all right within each other. So this is crazy stuff as Milan's trying to find a way round the outside of Sasha. Just can't get the move done. Milan was our pole sitter, and he's just struggled so much. And the traffic is all a massive dive up the inside of turn 4. I think maybe caught out on the entry curb. There, just braked far too late and sent it down the inside, maybe out of frustration, and just spins out of contention. Our pole sitter, what a shame. His race has really fallen apart. Someone else goes off the road further up the field as well. I think that might have been Falk maybe going off the road slightly at the chicane. But that was a really desperate attempt at a move from Milan, and it didn't pay off.
I don't think it was an attempt. I think it was just a misjudgment in the braking zone. But nevertheless, Milan's race has completely unravelled in the second half of it in particular. Then what disaster from a brilliant pole position that will certainly raise eyebrows. But unfortunately, it's not going to materialise too much in this race. Up near the front, Nico under pressure then. Zonova almost lining him up to the inside line, and they're battling him behind as well. As now to the inside line, Skyzy, oh, just at the bail out last minute, and now has Dylan for company, right, tucked in, underneath his rear wing, but the manoeuvre not quite come through, into turn 2, as they all have DRS on each other, overtaking so difficult, but still, Dylan is pressing, puts on the overtake mode, tries to get up to Skyzy, looking to the inside of turn 4, surely has to yield, surely has to back out, and he does back out, just about gets out of it. Pease as well, right with Jaco, touching the rear wing of the Racing Point as they all queue up behind Dylan in, into the back, they all almost come together, just keeping it clean, but it's getting too close for comfort down there, as they duel in the midfield. Brilliant action, headed up by XL Ryan, who looks in his rearview mirror and sees a massive contingency of cars, all on pressure tires, all hunting him down and eager to snatch that 5th position away on what has been a great showing for Ryan. Can he hold on? Possibly in the final dying laps of this race. Zoudemar is still right there with Nico, but Nico holding him back. Will the penalty cost him though? DRS open for Zoudemar, not the overtake. It is not coming into play for the Ferrari. He chases down the McLaren towards turn 1, feints to the inside line is covered off by the Spaniard, who drives out of the turn and will maintain that 3rd position on the road. Dylan almost gets alongside Skyzy on the overtake. He's desperate to get through on the AlphaTauri. Can't get through though, as Yarno and Larkin battling down the field, and Falk as well covering off Slash. Aiden, I can barely keep up with it. There's action galore in these final laps. What a first race we've been treated to here.
We've got 2 queues of cars where the fastest driver is at the back of the queue and the slowest driver is at the front of the queue. It's just bottling up so much behind these drivers as Nolan picks up another penalty. That's going to drop him down. Falk is on 22 lap-hold hard compound tyres. They must be screaming at this point in the race, and Slash just can't find a way through. And that is what's saving Ryan at this point as well, is the fact that the driver behind him on the road is also on a set of hards and is within DRS range. Skyzy's holding up these medium drivers nicely, and it's helping Ryan out for the time being. Dylan, you would say if he could get a move done, would be so much faster. Pease is so fast in 9th place, but just can't find a way through. He's basically pushing Jekyll around as he nearly goes for a move at turn 13, and there just wasn't enough room. He's so desperate to get a move done on the Racing Point. He just can't find a way through because of all the DRS these drivers have in front. And I think this time around, no one's going to be close enough yet again. Zaldimar's having a go at Nico into turn 1. Looks to the inside and Nico defends late, defends the line. Goes a little bit deep on the exit of the corner though. Zaldimar gets a great run out of turn 1 down towards turn 2. Will have the outside line. Has better grip on those medium tyres. Can he hold it around? He does, and Nico understeers into the side of him and spins the car.
Oh no.
With a great opportunity of 4th place. Nico just locked up, didn't have a lot of grip, and just understeered clean into the side of the Ferrari, and for what was a top 4 is now 9th place for Nico. What a shame after such a strong race.
Oh, that's gutting for Nico. One small mistake can cost you so dearly here in Division 2, and that's evidence of it there. Nico, having run so solidly behind Gary the entire race, just falling foul right at the death. So we have still 6 and a bit laps to go, and look at this train, it's phenomenal. Dylan is so close to Skyzy, pushing him around the entire lap, cannot get through though, gets a poor run, and Jaco with him that gets a penalty to the inside, total pace, looking at turn 12, just has to get out of it last minute, has to just yield the place, because my oh my, they are bunching up down there, and still, they run in the same order, but total pace looks ever threatening, on the back of XL, Jaco, the move not coming through yet, not materialising, as of now, DRS active, overtake flowing for Pease, but he's not going to be near enough, surely. Can he draw nearer heading in to the first turn on the 30th lap? It's not to be for Total Peace. As Jaco, big oversteer moment over turn 1. Total Peace for a snatches opportunity. Down the inside of turn 2. The door is firmly closed by the Racing Point. Round the outside of 2, inside of 3, and now Total Peace fighting back of him, looking left and right. Jekyll in his left and right mirror, trying to keep him behind, will keep him behind, just about. Pease has thrown everything at Jaco. Dylan has thrown everything at Skyzy as well. But they did not change position, and Ryan somehow from somewhere has found it in him to maintain this 4th place. He does have penalties, but what a drive this will be for Ryan to hold this tremendous queue of drivers back as Dylan's now going off. He's now dropping it back. He must have been a mistake for the Red Bull. He's now behind Jaco and Pease now.
Yeah, and P's really running wide there out of 10-11, trying to find a way past J. Cole, but this has opened up a great opportunity for those two to now have a run at Skyzy. Dylan's medium tyres maybe starting to cry a little bit. They're 13 laps old. They will start to struggle from pace from this point onwards. J. Cole just trying to get a move done, but you can sense that P's would be the man to try and make the move on Skyzy if he could get a move done on the racing point. Maybe out of the last corner. Can P's get it done this time? He gets a great run out of 14 once again as they head down towards turn 1. Is P's going to be late enough on the brakes? He looks to the inside line. J. Cole doesn't defend against it. And Pease isn't late enough on the brakes, but Jaco into the back of Skyzy, and Pease loses the rear of the car when they exit the corner, but Dylan's not close enough to capitalise on that mistake from Pease, and yet another opportunity for that 6th place on the road disappears for Pease. He just cannot get a move done, and hats off to Ryan. He has not cracked under this pressure. He's done a great job so far. Same for Nolan, currently running in 10th place. He's not cracked. They've still not been able to overtake him as Pease picks up yet another penalty in this race. He's just getting frustrated running in 7th. He's got so much pace but nowhere to use it.
Yeah, you can see the frustration in his driving, running wide, going off track, and just doing everything to try and dispossess Jaco of that 6th position, but it is not coming through. Skyzy, the only driver in this train without a penalty, will surely benefit from this, but can he alleviate the pressure of the drivers behind and try and finally get past Ryan, who has incredibly held these all back? But now, they are all queuing up yet again. Jaco on Skyzy, Pease on Jaco towards the 32nd lap of a thrilling Hungarian Grand Prix to kick this off, and now Pease is right with him. Can he finally get the move done here? He's tucked in underneath the rear wing, tries to drive alongside to the inside of turn 1. Pease commits to it, late on the brakes, side by side with Jaco, then eases the racing point to the outside lane, and at last through goes Total Pease. He's had to pick up penalties, he's had to run off track to do it, but he has done it finally as Slash moves past Falk as well, getting the move done, now chasing down on Nolan up the road then. Finally, Pease past Jaco can focus on Skyzy after a stint of frustration and anguish. Finally gets the move done, but the penalties to his name are going to cost him. Can he at least get past Skyzy, get to the front of the train, and try and stretch out as much as he can so that those penalties have as little effect as they have? But he's only got 3.5 laps to pull it off there as we draw towards the conclusion of this Hungarian Grand Prix.
He's really got to get it done quickly. It's, oh my word, he nearly lost the car there out of turn 9. Manages to hold on to it, but he's really struggling. These guys are battling so much that 2nd queue was starting to close in on the 1st queue. So we could have a queue of about 10 drivers very, very shortly, all within DRS range, all the way down to Larkin. Giorno spun a couple laps ago. That's why he's dropped a few places down to 15th place. And now look at Pease all over the back of the AlphaTauri of Skyzy. Surely he's going to be able to get the move done into turn 1. He gets a much better exit off of 14. Skyzy has the DRS enabled to defend, but Pease should be later on the brakes into turn 1. He's got a faster car in a straight line. Skyzy moves though, under braking, moves a little bit back towards the racing line, and that catches Pease out ever so slightly on the exit of the corner. He's forced onto the curb, so he can't get the move done. Aggressive defending from Skyzy. They just about get away with it, but Pease misses the opportunity to go for the move. One other thing that's happening, all of a sudden, Zaldaba's closing in on Gary for 2nd. He's nearly within DRS range as Kuhn Bly has a 13-second lead. He has disappeared. He's nearly a sector clear of the rest of the field, and Zaldam all of a sudden staring at a 2nd place.
I was just going to mention that the pace that he's shown has been phenomenal, and those medium tyres not going off just yet. They're both borderline on fuel, I think, so anyone's going to have to manage that. But he's got so much more speed under him. This could come down to the last lap. No penalties for either of them. Just a straight out fade to the checkered flag. My oh my, what a thrilling conclusion as further down the road, Pease lining up Skyzy to the inside of the turn 12. Brace remarkably late. Runs it out wide. They're both off the road. Jaco draws alongside one. Tried to get another. Skyzy back down the inside. 3 wide through turn 13. Somehow they all point in the right direction. And now Jaco goes sideways, taps the rear of the Mercedes. Pease somehow, incredibly, remarkably, has 5th place now on the road with Skyzy chasing him down. With Dylan now rallying this conclusion to the race. Down the inside on Mr. Skyzy. They come together in this contact then. Round goes Pease. Dylan out judges, misjudges the break and runs into him now. Jaco gets past Skies in there on the inside towards turn 2. It's all kicked off in these final 2 laps. And Dylan gets to the front of the train. Incredible sequence of moves, but then he go one step too far, tapping Pease around. Pease from P5 to P16. What cruel luck the Mercedes has had in this race.
That is such a shame. I think that was a fair move from Pease to go for it at turn 12. He just locked wheels, it seemed, with Skysy. They both went off the track. Pease was on the track, and then all of a sudden was off of it. They went 3 wide. I think Skysy, a little bit in retaliation, tried to go for the move at turn 13. Dylan tried to capitalise and outbroke himself into turn 1. So, unfortunately, that is Dylan's fault. That is such a shame. Our Mercedes drivers were running 1-2 earlier on, and they're now running 15th and 16th. What a disaster for them. It's been such a shame. As look at Zaldimer, all of a sudden trying to go for a move at the last corner on Gary, coming onto the final lap of the race. Zaldimer's surely got this one done. Gary moves right to the right-hand side of the track, trying to defend the line. Zaldimer's going to go to the outside line. Gary's trying to move back on him, but Zaldimer's a lot faster in the straight line. Gary late on the brake. Zaldimer gives him the space, but just has so much more grip, and very reminiscent of Hamilton on Verstappen in 2019. Zaldimer just drives around the outside of Gary, and from 15th on the grid, Zaldimer has avoided all of the carnage in the pack and has ended up in 2nd place.
What a drive from the Dutchman. He is headed for a result that he didn't even attain through any of last season. Brilliant from Zaldimer. And still the pack trying to sail themselves out behind. We've got to look for penalties, because now Ryan has a fighting chance of even getting 4th place now. If he can pull clear of Skysy may well get that, as he still is clear in this race. Jaco to the inside, feints it on Dylan. Dylan will cover it off, is unfazed by it, but he is right with him. Can Jaco get through? We're going to cut to Kublai though, who has utterly dominated this Hungarian Grand Prix. What a drive for the Renault, and a massive statement of intent. Kublai wins the Hungarian Grand Prix for pre-season. Absolutely fantastic, sensational, and he does win the day. Zaldimer will last lap, last gas move, beats Gary to 2nd place. Gary will have to settle for the podium. Jaco on Dylan, late doors, gets the move done, and Dylan's out of fuel, I think. Dylan's run out of fuel, and he drops to the back of the train, to the rear of the train. The Red Bull cruelly denied to the line. Skysy does jump to 4th from Ryan. Spag all the way up to 6th, incredibly, from Nico, Lork, and Jaco. Yordo rounds out the top 10. From Dylan, who ends up 11, Falk 12, Slash 13th, Nolan 14th in the end. Then it's the 2 Mercedes, and Milan and Pease. Packer will cross 17th last on the road, and I'm going to need to lie down after this. What a thriller!
I don't have words to describe how utterly insane that race was. That was from really 2nd down. The action throughout the field was utter madness throughout that one. If that's what the whole season's going to be like, I'm not going to survive. That is absolutely insane stuff. But I say from 2nd down because Kublai, after that pit stop, just disappeared. I don't think we saw him for the last 20 laps of this race. But my word, like you say, what a statement of intent from Kublai. Utter domination. I got Cup 2 of my private podium predictions right, but they weren't in the right order. Kublai, I was expecting the alternate strategy to be strong. To be that strong, though, that was absolute insanity. Kublai, what a drive.
Can anyone stop him is the question heading into the new season now. My oh my, am I excited. Next week it's going to come to you from Mexico. Please do not miss that. Mexico was an incredible race last season. I have no doubt it's going to be the same this season. Kublai went from 12th on the grid. Zonema 2nd from 15th there. Improbable results do come true in this incredible division. XL Gary does take 3rd place. You reckon that's about as well as he could have done today. Skysy does get 4th, and he comes out on top in that manic train from Ryan. Spag somehow gets 6th position. That's truly remarkable. From Nico, will be gutted to get 7th after a late race mistake. Larkin gets 8th after a late race spin. Jekyll 9th, Yorno 10th. Outside the top 10 is Dylan after some penalties holding him back. Falk after an early race incident, then Slash, just not his day today. No one with penalties holding him back. Milan and Pease, after great qualifying, great first stint, wasn't to be for them, and Packer rounds off the grid. Mikras, Arcolo, and RGDW didn't see out the checkered flag. Kublai by a margin of 16 seconds. That, as we mentioned, is a real statement of intent, and he has to go into next season. Surely is one of the favourites now.
He really does, yeah. In staying in Division 2, that is a massive performance from Kublai to get himself out of all of that carnage and just disappear at the front of the field, to perform that well in the first stint and outpace people on fresh tyres is a massive, massive achievement from Kuhn Blei. We were both expecting him to be out behind both the McLarens, and in the end he beat both of them out, which is absolutely incredible stuff. I think without Kuhn Blei in the field, though, I think I could name maybe 15 people that raced today that could have won that race. Absolute insanity, and could win a race this season. Who knows? We have so many people that could win races. There's people that finished down towards the back of the field, most notably the Mercedes, that finished 15th and 16th, that could have won this race on any other day. So I haven't got a clue how the season's going to pan out. If Kuhn Blei stays, he's definitely the favourite. But beyond that, who knows?
Aiden, welcome to Division 2, my friend. It is going to be a stunning season. I have absolutely zero doubt about that. Please tune in for next week. The viewing numbers for this race have been utterly phenomenal, so thank you so much to everyone. It's been a privilege to be able to commentate on this division yet again alongside you, Aiden, and based off that, I think we're going to get treated to quite the spectacle. We're going to round off then for this night of racing. Again, as per usual, Division 2 will come at you from again next week, Friday, at 8 o'clock UK time. Do tune in. I suspect the next race will be just as good as this one that we've just been treated to. Thank you all very much for watching, and yes, as the season draws nearer, until next time, we'll see you later.